Alright everybody, welcome back, Revolver84 here, and today we're going to do a race, a daily, on Gran Turismo Sport at the Dragon Trail Seaside track. Probably my favourite track on the whole game, if I'm honest, which is amazing considering it's a fictional track. It's not real. It's supposed to be based in Croatia in the game, but it's not a real track, unlike like Suzuka and such like. But it's definitely my favourite track on the game. You can see I started alright. I managed to get in second there. Times a little bit off pole, and 3, 4P, P3, P4, pretty close. So really, this race here, what I'm looking to sort of achieve is a standard race my own race, because there's only one guy in front of us, and defend 3 and 4 and hold out for a P2 finish. So the race is off starting here. We're going down the long straight now. Lorenzo bus is in front of us. And you can see, obviously, the guys lined up behind us there. Now, my primary people to try and look after is Lorenzo Bus and the Beetle, and the Jaguar F-Type behind us by that Spaniard guy there. I can't make out his name, unfortunately. And we're off. So, flying towards the first corner, and as usual, it's nice wide. By me, sometimes people like to take it inside. I don't really get why people do that. I take it outside, go wide, into the second corner, through the S-bend, third corner, and I come out lovely. Didn't quite clip the apex as much as I really would have liked. I probably could have pushed it a little bit more, but yeah, good start. And thankfully, not wiped out, because this track in particular, especially on turn 2, there's so many people who'll take what I consider the wrong lane, and will just dive bomb to try and get on the inside, go from outside to inside after the first turn, the second one, and just wipe out the first couple of drivers. Prior to this race, I got wiped out twice in the exact same place for the previous 2 races. So thankfully I managed to hold that, and I'm off there trying to chase down P1 Lorenzo Bus. Now at this point here, there's a pretty average gap between P1, P2, P3, about the same distance in between it. So I'm just as mindful of what's going on behind us as what's going on in front of us. But at this point here, I'm still trying to race my own race, go around the hairpin there. And I'm looking towards the next hard right. And now what I tend to do here is I tend to try and hit both apex there. I didn't do it that time. And then this one here is obviously the most difficult one by a long shot. I go down to gear 3 and lift off a little bit as I go from right to left through that corner. As soon as I get to the middle of the turn, I'll floor it again. So I'm smashing the apex on the outside, just skimming the wall. And we're coming towards the end of the first lap, so I've managed to get round and pretty much P1, P2 stationary. The guy in P3's had some sort of disaster and he's fell all the way back, and now I've got a bit of space. You can see in the rear view mirror there, you can see on the left hand side there in the standings, it's starting to look like it might be me and Lorenzo Bus for the rest of this race. We're starting to pull away a little bit, but that's alright, that suits me. It means I get to drive my own race and concentrate on the guy up front. Now what I'm concentrating on, like I say, is my race. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on him particularly. I'm not hunting him down. I'm not trying to force him into doing any particular errors. It's too early on. It's too early on for that to take place. I've just got to drive my own race, get round. I know I can get round the track fast. I've managed to work on it a lot recently, since switching to manual transmission for this track, and I found it so much easier that with manual transmission I can pull away from corners a lot faster, because I understand this track a lot better. Like I say, it is my favourite one, and because of that I'm not trying to put him on any particular pressure. I'm just trying to get round as fast as I can, almost like a quali. That's the best thing I can sort of think about it, like a qualifying lap. I'm not close enough to him yet to make any sort of challenge going around the hairpin there, and now I've made up a bit of space because Lorenzo Bus took that far too hard, broke far too hard, and stayed off the power far too late. And so now it's looking like I am going to start applying the pressure. I go through the S-bend there, and I hit both apex as I said before. Go through this really tight S-bend there, hitting the apex on the out-hand side, just missing the wall like I always try to do. That was a lovely sector there by myself, if I do say so. And we're coming towards this deep wide bend. Now I'm trying to make a move here, get cut out. I could have dropped it into 1. I could have dropped it into 1 and tried to put a little bit extra power on, but considering how far wide I went in second, I don't know if I wanted to apply any more power at that point. Really, it probably worked out to be the right thing. If I applied a bit more power, it's quite easily possible I would have went into the grass and be out of contention for P1. So yeah, I'm still racing my own race. There was a little attempt there, but it's still on. So we're racing. It's obvious the guy in front, Lorenzo Bus, is quite competent as well. He's very much focusing on his own race. Now, the example of good driving in this game is not being an arsehole when you're trying to defend and waving backwards and forwards and trying to throw the other guy off and refusing the line. The best way to win in this race is to drive your own race, and that's exactly what Lorenzo Bus is trying to do. He's trying to stay the right line, he's trying to do his own race, and he's just relying on a fair up and down competition between me and him, because by this point it's down to me and him. P1 and P2 are miles away from the rest of the pack. This is a 2-horse race at this point. So basically you can see that both drivers were not really making many mistakes. Not really. Alright, we might make the odd, 0.1 mistake somewhere where we might slightly not go a bit far into the apex as maybe as we would like, but generally speaking we're following the right line, we're getting quite consistent. So I am slowly making up time on him though. Like I said at the start of the race, I was a bit concerned about his lap time, because he was clearly in quali so much faster than me. But it's all well and good having one good qualifying time. It's consistency that's the key, and it's starting to become apparent now at this point in the race that maybe I'm a little bit more consistent. As I say that, I follow Lorenzo Bus wide. So I go for the challenge, I follow him wide, and we both end up flying off the track into the grass. Now both of us managed to hold it. I don't know how, I'm TCS 0. Thankfully we both managed to hold it, and we're still flying away, and we're well ahead of the rest of the pack. This really is a 2-horse race now between Lorenzo Bus and myself. Going through that S-bend there, and that's what I mean there, a classic mistake there. Like, does it wipe me off the map, that one? No. Does it throw me out the race? No. But that was far too wide. It was far too wide. The weight moved far too much from right to left there. I'm lucky it didn't spin out, especially with TCS 0. And that costs like fractions of a second, and it's the fractions of the second when it comes to this type of race that count. When you driving against drivers who drive their own race, and you drive your own race, and there's no hostility, there's no dirty tactics, there's no fishtailing or gentle bumps or deliberately trying to refuse the line. When two drivers are trying to be as best they can, it's those little mistakes that make a difference. Now look at that gap there. So we're on board with Lorenzo Bus, and you can see, looking back from Lorenzo Bus to me, I am miles away now. I'm 150 metres away, 130 metres away now. I have got a problem. And that's just from losing that 0.2, 0.3 of a second there. So again, consistency is going to be the key. I don't know why, but his quality time is a lot higher, like a second higher than what his times are here, which is surprising, because really he's not really under a lot of pressure really from me. I managed to overtake him there. And that's because you took that S-bend there completely wrong. And again, this comes down to consistency. I managed to take it just right. Now he's panicking a bit and he goes flying wide. Obviously the fact that he saw me fly past him has terrified the hell out of him. Couldn't panic, took the corner far too hard, went wide and spun out. Clearly he was probably a TCS 0 as well. And that's probably ruined his day, quite frankly, because he's put up a good fight. He raced really well, but clearly as soon as I did the overtake, he panicked. He felt he needed to apply a bit of pressure. Consistency. This is the message I'm trying to get across throughout the entire race. Consistency is the key. Don't race to the guy in front and don't race to the guy behind. Race your race. Now, because I overtook him, he felt pressured to try and keep up with us. He felt pressured to try and overtake us as soon as possible. That was totally the wrong approach, and that's ruined his race. Look how far down he's dropped now. He's went from P1 to P4. And alright, he's making ground, he's moving up now, but I've pulled away, and you could argue that I'm almost in a race by myself now, and it's just a matter of time. All I've got to do now is drop my TCS down to 2, so there's less chance of a spin, and just maintain the plan that I'm doing at the minute, just continue in the same lines, the same sort of speed. The TCS have increased to a 2, will mean that I've got better grip on the roads. I haven't got to be as reckless in the corners and stuff, and that it means that there's less likelihood of us flying to the outside in oversteer, especially with this being an MR. This being an MR, I've got to adjust the brakes to like a -2 and stuff and that, because it takes some skill. Any Porsche driver in this game will tell you, driving a Porsche takes a bit of skill. It's not a car for you entry level player, because it's an MR, because it's that difficulty in the way the weight wants to move around the car. Especially you'd be nuts to have the braking at +2. The car so badly wants to pull the arse in front of the bonnet. But because of that mistake by Lorenzo Bus, I managed to get across the line there. A nice win for me. Chalk one more up. and a significant difference. Lorenzo Bus never did recover. He finishes racing 4th there, and it's not that he did anything particularly bad. He raced a good race. I kind of thought, excellent race there, mate. And it was just that one mistake, and then the added pressure, feeling like you had to keep up with us, like wrecked his day. Consistency, people. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. All the best. Ta-da.